Hi. Sometimes generating a novel means taking a novel that already exists and then swapping out different parts of it with something else. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do that with a couple of examples of novels that have done that, I think, really well. So let's take a look. I've got a Python notebook set up where I'm going to do some things, but first let me show you an example or two of how this can be done, I think, pretty effectively and pretty consistently within the stated mission of NaNoGenMo. A couple of submissions come to mind. One is Moby Dick, hee hee, where the joke of it is that every time the word dick appears in this novel, there's a parenthetical chuckle immediately after. So if you just kind of go through, this is almost like someone is narrating the entire novel of Moby Dick, and every time they say the word dick, they can't stop themselves from laughing. It's a very silly, sophomoric kind of book, but I think it's great. I think it's one of my favorites in the entire NaNoGenMo corpus because of how silly it is. And a similar idea, which was not quite as silly, but I think also quite funny, was a work from last year, fall 2019. And this was, here we go, we can take a look at it here, I hope. This is Christina, and oops, it looks like I have to save it first and then I can open it for you. And Christina did something that is procedurally pretty similar, but with a different idea. And her idea was to take the book Paradissse Lossssst by Milton and then read it as though it was being spoken by a snake. And so the idea of the snake speaking this means that every S, it's elongated. So of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose immortal taste. So almost like parcel tongue. And I think also very funny and very readable, actually. You could sort of scroll through it and kind of see it, but it all sounds weird, and I think it's hilarious. So this is another good example of something that was programmatically relatively simple, but a really clever idea and really funny. So let's take a look at how you might do this if this is something that you're interested in. If you have an idea for some substitution, I've got a really silly example that's not very good, but I think it'll demonstrate the concept at least. So this is a notebook that I've set up. I'll share this in the description, and like I've been doing with the last few videos, I'll share what I'm doing is trying to, actually this is the description for the last one, so I'll go ahead and delete that. But I'm trying to actually print this. So I'm trying to make this a complete notebook where it does everything it needs to in order to run it, and then you end up with a PDF at the end. And to do that, I've got this install here to get Wheezy Print. So make sure you run that first. I've already got it installed here. And these are some of the things we're going to probably need. I actually don't know if we will need all of these things now that I look at it, but that's okay. We'll keep them there anyway because that's what we've been doing. It's certainly the Wheezy Print stuff, but I ended up not using regular expressions. What we need to do next is upload a file, read it into our Python, and then transform that Python file by replacing whatever we're planning on replacing with something else. And a typical example for this kind of thing is Pride and Prejudice. And might as well, right? So I'm going to read Pride and Prejudice into memory here with a typical way of doing that. My kids are having a problem. I don't know if you can hear them, but they're yelling at each other. That's all right. At least not all right. I wish they wouldn't. But they'll be okay. So we'll do f.read. Okay, so now we've got the entire text of this on the variable pride. We could print it if we want, but I'm not going to because it's going to be very long and that'll take up a whole cell there. So in fact, it kind of froze my notebook there for a moment. All right, I don't need to see this anymore, so let's see what we're going to do here. This is actually going to be pretty quick, I think. I just want to use the replace function, and the replace function is a string function built into Python, and if you're replacing an exact string with another exact string, remember strings just means a sequence of characters, all you need to do is the replace function. If you want to do something more complicated or more situationally dependent or context dependent, then you might need a regular expression, which can get pretty complicated indeed, but a string replacement should be pretty straightforward. And my idea for this is, like I said, very silly. I just thought, Elizabeth Bennet, what if this, instead of this being a romance between Elizabeth Bennet and Darcy, Mr. Darcy, what if it's a romance between Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez? I don't know why they were the first celebrity couple that popped into my head. So we're going to replace every instance of Elizabeth with Jennifer. We're going to replace every, and you can do these in a more elegant way, but just spelling it all out like this is totally fine because it's easier to see. We'll replace every instance of Bennett with Lopez. This will, of course, also change all of other references to like Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Bennett, all the other Bennetts will get their last name changed as well. Let me make sure I'm spelling Bennett right. I got this from Project Gutenberg, obviously. Yeah, so B-E-N-N-E-T. Great, that works. And then we'll do the same with Darcy. And we'll say, oops, not Derry. Rodriguez. And then, I had to look this up actually. I've read this book a few times. I could not think of what Darcy's first name was. You know, just like no one, they always call him Mr. Darcy or Darcy. I had to look it up. So on Wikipedia, it's Fitzwilliam is his first name. So we're going to turn every Fitzwilliam into Alex. And so now we've got it, I guess. So this is, I guess we could just to keep these separate, we could do. No, we'll just keep that as one variable. And now we could just print this, right? I mean, that should probably work. Let's see. Let's run it this way. We'll run Pride we'll run it through Markdown, although that's not really necessary. And then, yeah, maybe this will work. Of course, you could change out the fonts and other things. Oh, this is still using Orbitron, which may not, I mean, just visually is going to look a little out of character for a 18th century romance. Or was that 19th century? Sometimes I get my dates confused. Let's take a look at this and see what happened. Oh yeah, I gotta figure out a faster way to open these in the web browser so you can see these as well. Let's find out. All right, yeah, it's in Orbitron, which is silly. But let's see. There's my dear Mr. Lopez, said his lady to him one day. Have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last? No, Mr. Lopez replied he had not. So let's see. Did Alex ever show up? She recollected having heard of Mr. Alex Rodriguez, formerly spoken of as a very proud, ill-natured boy. All right, there we go. And that's all there is to it. Of course, you could get more clever with this. This was, I think, not particularly clever. And I just noticed that I have the wrong subtitle on this, but hopefully that's, hopefully it's pretty clear what this is a video about. This was using substitution. So pretty simple, but, with the right idea, this could be a really clever substitution or transformation of an existing novel into something else. So that's it. Thanks for watching.